What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another segment of Scorzy Scores. I'm Aaron Scorzy. Today we're talking about The Devil All the Time, directed by Antonio Campos. The story follows the lives of a few strangers living in Southern America in the mid-1900s. And their stories pretty much intertwine one way or another, but we primarily follow the story of Arvin and Russell, played by Tom Holland in his later years. That's towards the latter half of the movie. That's pretty much what we're talking about. Now, before I continue, this film has some great talent in it, and I've seen all of these actors perform in other roles in different films, and we got Robert Pattinson, Bill Skarsgård, Riley Keough, Haley Bennett, Harry Melling, Sebastian Stan, Mia Wasikowska, and so many people. Oh, and actually, I have to go back and find her scene, actually, but there's an actor by the name of Given Sharp who played a role as well, and I think she's gaining a lot more popularity, and I can't wait to see what roles she lands in the future. However, despite having such a talented cast, I felt a little let down by some of the performances, and it might not necessarily even be the performances, but just how it was written. I think Tom Holland has a great bearings to be a great star, but I wasn't sold on his performance here. I didn't believe he could do the things that he was doing, like, at all. I just kept seeing Spider-Man, I kept seeing a kid, and this could because, first of all, they see him in was Spider-Man, and a lot of times actors struggle to get out of that niche, that little box they're stuck in. He just didn't give off that energy. Robert Pattinson, on the other hand, he pushes character over the top. He does it so well, and I've seen him in a few films before this, and I just keep getting impressed. Just seeing him in Tenet, he was so cool and precise. Didn't go to see him in the lighthouse, and he was just flipping out, losing his shit. And even though he had a smaller role in The King, it still was just a brilliant performance. Now, of course, Pattinson is the more experienced actor, so it's not like Holland has a bunch of stuff to learn from just yet. I just had to give Pattinson his props. That's all. Let us see Riley Keough, and it's always great to see her perform. And in this film, she gives a more subtle approach, I guess, and with little erratic behaviors here and there. And again, maybe I feel like it's not entirely the actor's fault. I feel like the script just didn't give them enough, in my opinion. But it was so many characters in this movie. I feel like it was hard to really flesh out any one person. I feel like Arvin's character had the most story and most background to it. Of course, Bill Skarsgård drives it home like you expect. I don't need to say much about this guy here. I mean, the entire cast delivered. Don't get me wrong. They all did a good job. I just feel like it wasn't a great job overall. I think it sold it enough for the most part. Some roles like Holland's just didn't really cut it for me, but overall, I think it could be negligible. I feel like the narration kept me from fully being immersed in what was happening because it just kind of popped in. He said something, and it was like, okay, now he's literally telling us the story versus us seeing it. And it's always strange having a narrator verbally tell you things, especially what people should be feeling. That's just my opinion. I prefer to show that. At least give some ambiguity to what they're feeling instead of directly saying it, or even just directly talking about what's going on or telling you how events are linked. I mean, sometimes I feel like it is important. Maybe they couldn't show you any other way, but I feel like narration is, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of it personally. I've always been a lover of situations where you are allowed to have your own conclusions. I also have a lot of back and forth traveling in time. Like something happens, it plays you through, then goes back to 7 years later, and then it plays you through to a different timeline on someone else's life. And it wasn't that bad for the most part, but it felt like a lot of explaining was happening for like a character to just come just to show who his character is now. Like a lot of that stuff could have been taken out and just express more with the other characters, learn more about them. But that's just what the filmmaker was going for. So, as I said earlier, there were quite a few characters in here. It felt a bit too crowded. I feel like we didn't get a lot of any character. I feel like we got really skimpy versions of a lot of them. Characters in specifically were the serial killers. I think Riley did a great job. I think she had more depth than the other guy, the shooter, but they both still felt a little flat. And once again, it wasn't the actor's fault. The script was just so many people written into the script. It kind of just felt like they couldn't have time to even flesh out these characters. I really didn't get a grasp on their motivations. I get it. They may be just serial killers. They just like killing people, but it felt like it was more to it than just that. Like, why? It's always a deep reason why they're doing it. And I felt like none of that was explored. It doesn't have to even be a whole monologue of it. Just something to understand why they're doing it. It felt like it was a missed opportunity in a lot of their stories. And this film also left me thinking about what happened to a lot of the other characters who died previously. I feel their motivations were a bit thin and just didn't feel authentic. I just didn't get it. And then the main question on my mind is, what the hell happened to Theodore? Going back to Holland and his character, once again, I feel like it wasn't on Holland's shoulders completely. The character was written like this, but he was doing things that just didn't feel authentic. It seems accelerated. It seems like who he was accelerated so fast from just beating somebody up to now him being a full blown killer. And there was no buffer. It just didn't feel authentic. It didn't feel real. It didn't feel like it was an organic growth to that. He was just a guy, and now he's a freaking killer. And it was like, it felt rushed. And it felt forced. It felt like he was not even this tough guy beating the shit out of people. It just felt like they would just force that upon his character and force it upon him to try to portray this. I didn't buy it. But The Devil All the Time overall is a great performance-based film. I think it was the cast was great. The story is okay. It fizzles out a little bit for me, and I think it's just too much going on with all the different characters. And I think it's easy enough to follow. It's hard to care about anybody here because you don't really get to know anybody besides Arvin, Tom Holland's character. Still, I enjoyed the film good enough for the most part, and I'd actually recommend it to people who love period pieces. I think it's a great period piece. I love the amount of work that went into the sets and to really capture the feeling of this mid-1900s era. Hey folks, that's all I got for you today. Be sure to subscribe and hit that like button. Drop suggestions below in the comments if you have any ideas on future segments, and let me know your thoughts on the film. You can also find me on my podcast by the same name, Scorzy Scores, on any streaming platform. I'm Aaron Scorzy, and I'll catch you in the next one.